Hello and welcome to the Switch and STREAMdiff solution overview. Before I get into detail about Switch and the flows that we have set up to run through STREAMdiff, it is worth noting that a majority of Switch and STREAMdiff users will not need to open up the Switch GUI except for when they want to make specific changes to the flows. However, it is still important to understand what Switch is doing behind the scenes when it comes to running a STREAMdiff compare. Looking at the screen that I have up, this shows a standard STREAMdiff PDF compare flow. Essentially what we have set up here are different types of submit folders that allow users to easily submit files that they would like to compare. These folders are generally placed in a location that all users can access. The first submit folder is our match by name submit option. This is also the most used option. This folder allows you to drop a control and test file into the submit folder, and as long as the files have the same or very similar file names, Switch will take those files and run them through STREAMdiff automatically. If a user wants to, they have the capability to drop tens or hundreds of files into this folder, and as long as the user submits a test file with the same file name in it, and also has the words control and test in it, Switch will queue them up and then run this compares through STREAMdiff. Another submit option is to submit a folder that contains two files that you want to compare. You use this icon right here for in that case. We call this our basic submit point. As long as one of the files contains the word control in the file name and the other file has the word test in the name, Switch will be able to take the files out of the folder and run the files through STREAMdiff. This submit option does not require the file names to be the same. In addition to those two submit options, you also have the option to FTP files into the flows as well as email the files into there. For this video, we will focus on the match submit option. Once you've decided the best way to submit your files, what Switch will do will queue up those files and send them to a separate flow called our STREAMdiff batch processing flow. This is where the files are actually run through STREAMdiff. If you are licensed to run different outputs, such as AFP, Metacode, or PCL files, you may have multiple different flows set up for those types of files. Each of those flows, however, will point to this flow when running files in STREAMdiff. In addition to running the files through STREAMdiff, this flow also contains license retry options. Here, Switch will continue to monitor and check to see if there is a STREAMdiff license available. If there is no license available, Switch will wait a set amount of time before trying again. After the files are run through STREAMdiff, they will transition back to the original flow used to submit the files and ultimately end up in the results folder. Depending on what flow you use, there may be a folder that contains the project file where you can view the STREAMdiff results in the STREAMdiff GUI, which in this case would be the project files folder here. Additionally, there may be a folder titled Differences Reports. These are going to contain the PDF reports that have compares that have at least one difference. Additionally, we have No Differences reports. These are going to contain the PDF reports where STREAMdiff has found no differences between the control and test file. Like the submit folders, these result folders will also be in a location that users have access to. Switch also has the ability to send emails once compares are finished to allow the users to know that the compare has been completed. Now that you have seen a general overview of Switch, let's submit a few files. On my desktop, I have a submit folder as well as some results folders that I've specified in my Switch flow. I also have 10 statement PDFs that I would like to compare. Each statement, as you can see, have the identical naming convention. In addition to that, have the words control and test so you can tell which is the before and after file. Since we will be using the match submit option, Switch will know to match up the name of the file with its counterpart. To submit these files, all I have to do is highlight and copy these files into the submit folder that is waiting for files to be dropped into it. This submit folder acts as a hot folder. If I paste the 10 plus files into this folder, if I wait a few seconds, you will see that these PDFs will disappear. Now that they've disappeared, That is symbolizing that Switch now is taking those files and running them through STREAMdiff. Once the files have finished their compares in STREAMdiff, if I open up the results folders on my desktop, you will see that the project files start to populate into this results folder. These are the STP files that you can double click on to open up the compares in STREAMdiff. Additionally, I have these other two folders, as I mentioned previously. One folder containing the PDF reports of those that have differences within the compares, and then the other one is the ones that have no differences. This is how most Switch users will both submit and view their compare results. Going back to my projects folder, double-clicking on one of these projects will now bring up that completed project in STREAMdiff. Now, going back into the Switch GUI, I'm looking at my results portion of my flow. You can see that the 10 project files have run. Those are the 10 projects that I showed you on the folder on my desktop. And then there are 6 of those 10 compares that have differences in them and 4 that do not contain any differences. That was just a quick run through of dropping files and running compares in STREAMdiff and Switch. Now that you've seen an example of dropping compares in Switch, there are now just a couple of other tips that I want to point out. If I go to the top right portion of this flow, you will notice a few things. One is a small update template flow. Additionally, there are 2 cleanup icons just below it. The project repository cleanup and results folder cleanup can be customized to keep track of the finished project files and PDF reports. If a user would like for the old files to be deleted, you could define the specific amount of time here. For example, you can set these so that any compares that were run over 30 days ago are automatically deleted. This is a good way to make sure that the result folders stay cleaned and up to date with relevant compares. The update template flow in the top right can be used when you want to apply settings or features to your compares. For example, let's say you want to ignore all images in the files that you are running. You can open up one of the compares in STREAMdiff, make that setting change to ignore images, and then take the actual STREAMdiff project file or SDP file. For example, this would be an SDP file. If I were to open this up in STREAMdiff, make a settings change here, I should be able to take this SDP file and drop it into the update SDP folder here. Once that project file runs through the small flow, every compare that you run through this main flow will pick up the settings and rules and apply them to its own compare. So in this case, I just mentioned, every compare from here on out will ignore images until you decide to update the template once again. As you can see, Switch can be a powerful tool when it comes to running compares in STREAMdiff. This video is a general overview when it comes to Switch and the tools that it has to offer. This concludes our overview of Switch as well as our walkthrough of our STREAMdiff flows. If you have any questions regarding the topics in this video, please contact Paloma's support. Thank you for your time.